So a mistake that I see new songwriters make like all the time is when you want a song to feel big and you grab like the biggest thing that you can think of. Like it's about life and death. There's a huge blow up. Someone walks out the door forever. Like, those like truly life-changing circumstances. And we think sometimes that those things, those big moments make a song a hit. We think the bigger the stakes, the more it's gonna matter. The more people we can reach with that song. But that's not always the case. And it must not even be so at all. Because life itself, it is about so many other things. There are so many things that people actually struggle with. And even if it's a small thing from like when we look from the outside in, if you are actually that person struggling with it, it can be a huge deal for you. And this is something that this song actually accomplishes.
Welcome to the show of Story First Songwriting. I'm Melanie Naumann, your host, and I've broken down over 1,000 song lyrics in great detail with over 90 different criteria that I'm looking at in each song lyric to find out the patterns of what they have in common that makes them successful, what makes a great song good, and what makes a song that didn't stand the test of time, what could have been improved. So I'm always looking at lyrics through the lens of story first songwriting to explore how we can write songs that truly hook our audience, that make them engaged so they want to listen all the way through, and also songs that deliver a meaningful takeaway. And right now we are going through Greg Amici's album Tragic Comic because on June 30th, 2026, we have him in our school community for an interview.
So the song Spin That Ball is about a guy who had a real shot. He was good. People watched him, but then he blew it and he lost it all. So he lost his standing. He lost who he used to be in front of people who looked up to him. And because I'm also preparing for the interview, I was like following what Greg has said in previous interviews, and I came across this one thing that he mentioned. He talked about how he loves those big dramatic endings, like the murder, the crash. But the real story, the one almost nobody writes, is this quiet one. You get a regular job, you get married, you stop dreaming. And then he said this one line here, the mundane is the essence of existence. And this is also what this particular song actually captures. So perhaps this is something that you would also like to try out. Stop trying to make your song matter by cranking the stakes as high as they go. Like start matching the stakes to the kind of story that you're telling. Like not every problem feels like the end of the world. Not every problem is like this huge deal to an outsider. Just remember, it must matter to the person who has to deal with it. For them, it's a big deal. So every problem, like big or small, it deserves to be in a song. And this refers to problems that do not have like a single-sided answer. Just do this and you're good. We are not talking about those kind of problems. We are talking about problems that are dependent on the context. For example, is it always good when a person that you love breaks up with you to just accept it and move on? Is that always the best choice? No, it's not. Sometimes we need to fight for that person to actually show them that we care, that we love them, because maybe this is exactly what they needed from us. So moving on would actually be the wrong choice in that scenario, in that context. Other times when you know like you can't save that relationship, and the option would only be like you would live in the past, you would live in regret, you would think about all the things that you could have done better, and you would just hold on to that person. It could ruin your entire future because you're never able to move on and meet someone else. So the same thing, the same problem, a breakup, but how you're going to deal with it, it depends on the context. That's why I'm always saying like it's important for the listener in a song to know the context, because only through the context do they know if the protagonist in the song actually made the right choice. They need to grasp the entire situation. So after looking at this particular song by Greg Amici, you will be able to look at your own song and tell me exactly like what kind of stakes matter for the song and whether every part of the song agrees with that choice. What that actually means, we're going to be talking about in just a second. The main thing is when those two things, like what's at stake and the story you want to tell, like what type it is, if those two things don't match, then the listener will get confused. But if those things align with each other, then even a problem like losing a basketball game can make a meaningful impact on the audience. But before we start analyzing the song lyrics, the first thing we actually want to know and be clear about is like who is the protagonist and who is the antagonist. So the protagonist is the character the story is actually about. They are the one who has to face something, there's a surprise, an unexpected event, something that throws their life out of order. And they're gonna be the one who has to deal with it, and they will have to make a choice about it when there's no preferable option. And when we talk about antagonist, it always has this bad association with it. Antagonist. It's like this is the bad guy, this is the villain. But in fact, this is not true. In storytelling, when we talk about the antagonist, then this is simply the force that wants something from the protagonist. And because they want something from the protagonist, they are the ones who add pressure, who apply the pressure onto their protagonist. They are the ones who keep pushing, and that is it. So the antagonist can even be someone who loves you and wants to help. So for example, a family member who sees that you're going through a rough time, maybe you're drinking too much, maybe you're doing drugs, and they are stepping in, trying to lead you back to a better path where you are not like following self-destruction, even if you don't like it. Like even us as parents, like we are the antagonist in our kids' life. We want the best for them, but they are not always perceiving us as being the ones who truly wants to help them. They think we are just the one who applies pressure, who wants something from them that they don't want to do. Like we constantly have those kind of conflicts. And this is mainly what it's about. We have protagonist and we have an antagonist. And you know, this song, it does something that I love right away. It's written in direct address, but the first person character, he's not mentioned with I, because the first person, it doesn't matter. It's all about you, right? About the person that the first person character addresses, about you. That's also how the song starts, with chain link fences, kept your senses focused on the drill. So it's all about you right from the start of the song. So you is the protagonist. And when we actually look at the lyrics, so we have your senses, it's about your name. You showed off all your skills. You split the profits from your game. You were a playground star. So it's like by establishing, it's like you. Then we know like, oh, this song, it is about that you person, who they were. So we are following along, already assuming that this is the protagonist. Also because they get addressed right in the first line, like directly addressed. Like you kept your senses focused on the drill. And even as the song continues on, it's like we only have the second person pronoun. There's never the first person pronoun, even though we know there's someone talking to you. So it's not written in the point of view of second person, like you walk down the street, you see something in the window, like it's not that. It's not that kind of writing. It's someone talking to someone. So it's still direct address, even though the first person character never shows up, but we actually have him here when he says like, keep on spinning, old friend. Then we know, oh yeah, they have a relationship, right? There is someone talking to someone. So this line only confirms it in the end. So the first person character, he talks to you the whole time. So the narrator is the antagonist. Not because they are cruel, right? The opposite is true. He wants you to get back up and try again. This first person character steps into the role of the mentor figure. He refers to himself as a friend, as we have seen in the last line that I've already showed you. So the antagonist here is the friend who keeps pushing because they want something better for the protagonist. And that push is what drives the entire song. Now, the big topic that I actually want to talk about today is about genre. And I don't mean the music genre of pop, country, rock, rap, dance, or whatever. I'm talking about the content genre. That's just actually a fancy way of asking one question, like what is the song truly about? So genre is like a label that tells the audience what to expect. So in storytelling, as an audience, we want to know, is this going to be a crime story? Is this a western? Is it a love story? Is it a performance story? Is it a horror story, right? We want to know what it's mainly about. And this song here, it's a performance story combined with a status story. This is the one that's getting the most focus. So a status story is about where a character stands with other people. It's about their reputation, their standing, whether they're rising or failing on the social hierarchy. And inside that, there are actually a few subgenres that you can choose from. And in this particular song, Spin That Ball, we have the subgenre of tragic. Tragic means a character is trying to rise in their social standing, but they make a mistake that actually dooms them. So he falls and he stays down. And of course, this is actually where the mentor, the first person character, is stepping in as the antagonist, trying to help their friend. They want them to spin that ball again, to keep spinning, to not give up. So regarding genre, each content genre also has what we call obligatory moments. And those obligatory moments are just the moments that belong to a certain content genre that the audience expects to be in there. For example, if you watch a love story, a romance, then you know you want to see that moment where the lovers first meet. You want to see their first intimate connection or the first kiss. You want to see the confession of love. You want to see how they break up. You want to see how someone proves their love. And you want to see if they come back together or decide to part. right? Those are the moments that you're waiting for when you watch a love story. And a status story also has a set of obligatory moments. And in songs, you don't have to explore like all of them in one song because we are not telling a complete story in a song, but we are focusing on one particular moment. And sometimes you can use those obligatory moments from those big story content genres to inspire your own song. And when we look at the song Spin That Ball by Greg Amici here, then he also used one obligatory moment of the status genre. And it's this one. Forced into a new environment, the protagonist leans on old habits and is humiliated. Now, does this actually sound familiar? If you've read the lyrics, does it sound familiar? I guess it is, right? Because we have it right here in the beginning of the second verse, right? Because when we look at the song lyrics, all of this is just like introducing us to who the character used to be, what they had, their high social standing. But then, beginning of the second verse, we have you offered up a clown show, so they packed you for a fool. So you can see that he falls in status. He was established as this one kind of person, but now he's being seen as a fool. So he gets humiliated. So his old skills, the thing he was proud of, they get knocked down to tricks for school kids. And his people fall away one by one. Like we also have that in the lyrics. He's hating on Marty, he's blaming Big Jack. The one brought you down, the one held you back. He's running from Jenny, swimming in scotch. So every loss is a social loss. So his name, his standing, his people, all gone. And this is actually a great choice for the song lyrics. So we have a status story. So we focus on the things that affect the protagonist's social life, his reputation, and how he is seen by others and what others think of him. This is all about that. And the song includes all of those things, which strengthens our perception that this is a status story. And when we look at the song lyrics, then you see that when it comes to what is at stake, it's never going back to that physical level, to that physical threat. Nobody's going to die. Nobody gets hurt. There is no disaster. It would have been so easy to throw in like one big story moment to make the song feel bigger. But the songwriter keeps it social all the way through. And that is great because we always know what is at stake. And it's all about how it all changed for him regarding who he was in the eye of the people and who he is now. And that makes it beautiful that there is still this one friend by his side trying to get him back on track. There's one social tie that the protagonist has not lost. And this is the part that I really want to focus on because we have the same songwriter, we have the same album. Yesterday we talked about the song Pumpkin Man, and this one lived on the physical level. Like we had the dad, the flies, his body, the threat to dig a hole much deeper. So it was all about those physical stakes all the way through. So that's what actually made it this horror story. But now when we look at the lyrics of Spin That Ball, then the song is entirely on the social level. So we have the same writer, but a different choice for this song. And both songs, they work because in each one the stakes are clear and very consistent with the chosen content genre. So if you ever wondered the kind of story that you choose to tell and what is actually at stake, if this combination actually matters, then I hope you can see it right here. Knowing your content genre and knowing what you put in there that is at stake, this has to align. Especially, it has to align in the crisis. This is story moment number 3 when a character has to make a choice between two options. And none of those options is actually preferable. Then the main thing, what is at stake in that very particular moment? It has to refer to the content genre. So for example, in a love story, it's not going to be life and death that is going to be at stake in that very moment. It's going to be about belonging. It's going to be about love, right? It's going to be on that social level. But in a horror story, it's not going to be about your performance report, right? It's not going to be about that, the crises that you have to face, what you're going to do about that. It's going to be down on that level of what's at stake physically. And we know in horror stories, it is also about life and death because there's a monster that cannot be reasoned with. And the main threat is actually to our sanity because we don't know what's real anymore. So the threat is just like so exponentially so big. And of course, I also want to mention the 5 commandments of storytelling because we actually want to see, since we are always talking about story first songwriting, does the song that we are looking at right now, does it actually tell a story? And the first thing that we actually need to look at before we decide on going through those 5 commandments is we need to know, is there conflict between the characters? So we know who's the protagonist, we know who's the antagonist. And now we need to know, what do both characters want? So we know from what the first person character is saying that he wants the other character, the protagonist, to keep on spinning, to spin that ball, to not give up, just try it again. This is what they want. Now, what does the protagonist want? Well, he is swimming in scotch. So we know, like, oh, he wants to give up. He's down on his luck. It's tough, so tough, right? To quote a line from the Bon Jovi song, Living on a Prayer. And so, since we know they have opposing wants, one wants the other one to keep trying, the other one wants to give up, that is indirect conflict. And conflict is what we need for a story. So, now let's look at the 5 commandments of storytelling. So the first one is the inciting incident. This is the unexpected event that is caused by the antagonist because the antagonist disturbs the protagonist's world because they want something from the protagonist. And we have that right in the song's first line because the antagonist decides to address directly the protagonist. He's talking, he starts talking to him, and this makes the inciting incident. Then we actually get to experience a series of progressive complications, which starts here. You offered up a clown show, so they packed you for a fool. You lost the game and then you're ahead. Now you're on the sidelines, you can't go back to school. Now you're wowing kids with parlor tricks instead. Like all of this, those are progressive complications. Even everything that's listed here that I've mentioned before, all of those are also progressive complications, and you see it's all about social stakes. And after a series of progressive complications, then we get to the second commandment of storytelling, and that is the turning point. And the turning point is always a refusal from the protagonist to do what the antagonist wants them to do. So they refuse to comply to what the antagonist wants them to do. And here in the song lyrics, we get to that line, just keep speeding by all the traffic cops. So they are trying to avoid everything. They're just like doing what's obviously not right. You can take it literally or you can take it as something that stands for something else, but it shows that the protagonist is deciding to throw his life away. That's basically what it says. So it's the turning point. It's the protagonist's refusal. And the antagonist responds to that refusal by the protagonist by this crisis ultimatum. It's like the antagonist. They push the protagonist into a crisis by stating the consequence. What will happen if you truly pull through with this, right? It's like this, do this or else. A mentor is always like stating the consequence. Hey, if you keep doing this, you will end up there. So this is basically what a crisis is. And we have it here. If you want the shot, you've got to know it's all on you. So the antagonist is reminding the protagonist, hey, it's all on you. If you actually want a shot to turn your life around, it's all on you. So he's like, all of this, it's reminding him what is truly going on right here. You have to make a choice about your own life. So we got the crisis, and after the crisis, which belongs to the protagonist because they have to make a choice about it, we want to know what choice did the protagonist make? What did they decide to do? And here in the song, we have that repetition of the refrain line, which is also what the antagonist wants the protagonist to do. And it's like, he keeps saying it, keep on spinning, keep on spinning. And you know, like it's in present tense and it's like using this ing form. So it's like, it's really happening in the moment, keep on spinning. Now this phrase has actually gained a new meaning because the protagonist, he's keeping on spinning. So that's the climax, the choice the protagonist decides to make. And then the 5th commandment of storytelling is the resolution. We want to know how it all turns out. And this is the response from the world regarding what the protagonist decided to do. And here the mentor figure says, keep on spinning, old friend. So it's that reassurance that the protagonist made the right choice. So you see, in that song, we have all of those 5 commandments included, which is pretty cool. It's pretty great to see. So now let's talk a little more about that refrain line. It says, keep on spinning, spin that ball. So when we first hear that line, it actually starts like a basketball drill. But in the end, after everything that he has lost, that phrase, keep on spinning, it actually now stands for something else. It stands for not giving up. It means keep going. Don't quit on yourself. So that refrain line is gaining weight. The meaning changes. And this is something like when you have watched yesterday's video that Greg is doing really well. He's also doing this in the song Pumpkin Man. So we have one refrain line. It's the same line, but a different meaning each time that we hear it. And now since we are breaking down a song, of course, we cannot only talk about the things that are done really well in the song, but we also want to think about the areas that could be improved. Because we want to learn, and sometimes we also learn from the mistakes so that you know what to look out for in your own song lyrics. It's always easy to say like, oh, this is great about that song, but what are actually the areas that could have been improved? We need to train our analytical mind, our editor brain as well, to spot those moments so we are actually able to see them happen in our own song lyrics. So when we write them, we can actually improve them. And this is, for example, this is why in my course Songwriting Mentorship, when I work together with songwriters one-on-one, we break down a song each week. where we go through it. First, we start more global, like, okay, this is how the story works. This is the antagonist, protagonist. Those are the things that they want. Those are the 5 commandments of storytelling. So we're starting more on that global level of understanding the story in a song. And then we even dive into line by line writing to understand how the entire song actually comes together and what each section actually accomplishes. And once you have seen the craft that goes into those songs that you truly admire, that you know that has made a huge impact on yourself or even on the whole world, then it gives you so much for your own songwriting. You know what to pay attention to when you write your own songs. You know, you have seen different versions of how you can pull off something. And it's like your toolbox as a songwriter, it just grows and grows. And so this is one aspect that we do. And I've seen like it makes a huge difference on how a songwriter approaches their songwriting then. So I hope as you follow along, as we break down Greg's songs, it's also going to give you new insights that you can take away for your own songwriting. So let's talk about the first thing that I want to mention about this particular song. So the entire song is built around that image of playing basketball, because we have the chain link, we have the drill, the game, the rim, the shot, that spin that ball, like this constant saying, right? That constant phrase. So it's like truly all about this world. But then it actually turns into this clown show. It's like with parlor tricks and a wizard's cap and a gown. So now we actually got 2 strong images. We got the basketball and we got the circus kind of thing. So those are 2 very strong like picture worlds. And the risk is actually that they start to compete. The listener can get confused when you do this. You wonder like, oh my God, is this now about basketball or is it about a street magician? So combining those 2 things can make it all feel bigger, but it can also muddy the picture. And this particular song, it drifts towards the latter. So I'm not saying it's failing, but I'm saying it's the kind of choice that you want to make on purpose. And honestly, like when I read those lyrics for the first time, when I read them for the second time, I really wasn't sure if they're actually about like a street magician doing tricks so that Marty can steal from the people who watch, or if it was a sports game. So the confusion was there. So the song itself, in the lyrics, it would have needed to pull back on the magic references and perhaps strengthen the basketball ones a little more. Then it would be a lot clearer for the audience to understand what's really going on. And the second issue that I want to focus on is when we look at the first verse, because the first verse is not a hook. So it starts with chain link fences kept your senses focused on the drill. Like, of course, it's a mouthful just to say this. But the main thing is it's not hooking the audience. It's only describing in that first line where the character is and what he's doing. And even though it is written in past tense, it doesn't make us feel like something good is gone. Like in Miley Cyrus's song Flowers, she says, "We were good, we were gold." So you immediately know by her saying we that they had something amazing together and it's not there anymore. So you wonder what happened that they don't have that good thing anymore. But right here, it's not really giving us that sensation. It just sounds like any sentence from a story that wants to describe us something, but we don't really care about it. So it doesn't open a question that we need answered. So when we look at the lyrics, everything right here is like we don't really care about it. The protagonist, the you person, is not truly struggling with anything. Everything seems fine. This is all establishing the character and the world, but we are not hooked. We don't wonder, oh, what's going to happen next, because nothing is indicated that there's going to be a problem. So what is the thing that actually hooks us is you offered up a clown show, so they packed you for a fool. So now we see like, oh, problem alert, something's going on, and we want to know what it is. So the entire first verse is actually just telling us about someone without making us care about him. But if you write your song's beginning, you want to hook the audience and give them a reason to care. So now that we have gone through this song, here's a little something that you can take away for your own songwriting. So just look at a song that you're working on right now, and then ask yourself, what is truly at stake in this song? Is it something on the physical level, on the social level, or on the ideological level? Like ideological is who you believe you are, right? It's not about what other people think, like on social, but it's about who you think you are. And when you think of the stakes, focus on the one that is most prominent in your song, in your protagonist's crises. And you want to check that whatever is at stake in the protagonist's crises is also the core stake of your chosen content genre. So I know that sounds like a lot of theory. Let's just look at it. When it's about physical stakes, then it's all about the body, the safety, it's about staying alive, it's about material things. And so when the crisis is about this, then you're probably telling an action story, which is about life and death. You're telling a thriller story, it's also life and death, horror, life and death, or a crime story. This one is about justice, but what happens in a crime story, it's also about the discovery of a dead body or something gets stolen. So it's physical and material things, so it belongs to the physical level. So we got this. When you, for example, when you write a love story, a performance story, or a status story, then in the protagonist's crises, it's going to be about social stakes. So about their standing, their reputation, their relationships. And if you have a song that is like a morality story or a worldview story, which is more like internal to the protagonist, then the stakes in the crisis must be ideological. Is this person truly the person who he thinks he is? So it's all about what you believe about yourself, who you are on the inside. So you need to check if the crisis, the story crisis, that crossroad moment, if that actually aligns with your chosen content genre.
Thank you so much for listening. When you enjoyed the show, there's a lot more going on inside our community of story-first songwriters on School. You can share your own song lyrics. You can follow along what other songwriters do. You get trainings, feedback, and a great community who all support each other. And to join us, just click the link in the description below. We are looking forward to having you.